Hello everyone and welcome back. Had some small technical issues, but fortunately everything will run smoothly now. So today we are continuing with adding authentication or the authentication logic to our Sveltekit starter project. Yesterday we left off with the form for the sign-in page, and we'll continue where we left off with finishing the sign-in logic. Probably after that we'll add the verification code logic, where after a user signs in or signs up, a verification code will be sent to the email, and you need to pass that in order to verify and create your session, your authentication session. And without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Let's go and run our project. See that everything works as expected. Actually, in the meantime, let's just quickly take a look at, maybe I mentioned Resend for the mail part for sending emails. Okay, so it looks like it's working. Resend is this library that has a really intuitive API. You just call resend.emails.send and it just works. We will be using HTML email templates for this. And let's just quickly stop our server. Add the Resend package. Just so we have this. Alright. And now, okay, let's see quickly the sign-in form, which is pretty straightforward. We just have a field for the email, and in a short while we'll also see. Okay. Oh. Yeah, a small crash right there, and also the CAPTCHA token, or the CAPTCHA utility from Turnstile, which will give us the CAPTCHA token. And basically the next thing that we need to do is take the CAPTCHA token and validate it. Let me quickly pull the Cloudflare Turnstile documentation. and I'm interested in the server-side validation. And in here, we'll just make a post request to the Cloudflare API. And in order to do that, we will just create a utility method. If you remember, what we are going to do is go into our server, and in here I want to add a services directory where we will have everything regarding our authentication server-side logic. And we will start with creating a method for validating the CAPTCHA token. Const. And in here, as arguments, we will receive the token, which will be a string, and also a secret. Yeah, another string. So this one will be coming from the Cloudflare Turnstile setup itself. Basically, when you set up this, you get two things: a side key and a secret key. The side key is used in the client-side token generation process. After the token has been generated, you use the token and the secret to validate your request. And in here, in this example, you can see that they are using a form, but I guess that you could also, from what I remember, you can just send you can see here you have the example to just pass data as a JSON body. So we will not be using the AP. If I remember correctly, to be honest, I don't even remember having the IP for this one previously. I'm guessing that this is not required. I'm not 100% sure, but from what I remember, maybe under the hood, Turnstile will pull that whenever you make the request. But yeah, we will just pass the token and the secret key, and that's basically it. Let's see. What we will get back. Okay, so the successful validation response looks like this. For the most part, we'll be interested just in the success status or success flag for this request. But you can see that you have other things that come back. And in case of an error, you get back an error code. So what we will do is, in our code, we will await a fetch request. Let's just quickly grab this URL right here. Okay. And after that, we need to pass our properties right here. Which will be the body of our request. We will not do this, a post request, and we tell that we want to, I keep forgetting, I think that the content type is what tells the receiving API that you send JSON for your request. Okay, and then we can just take the data by awaiting the response.json, but this will not be typed. So for that, we will need to type it ourselves. And basically, we will just, we don't need all that. We will have just a this. And error codes, that's right. And can return right here. I mean, I think you can just safely return this data. No need to destructure it further. Probably just so we have this formatted a bit nicely. That should be it. I'm wondering if we need to check, because technically the data can be, or no, I think it's safe to do it like so. And then we can just go over our action. And one thing that I forgot is to our services. Let's just quickly put a index.ts file. Export our method right there. And in here we will take exactly form data.captcha token and the secret key coming from our environment. In case you are not familiar, Sveltekit offers this nice export right here. You have basically four, if I remember correctly, there are four aliases for getting environment variables, both private, public, static, and dynamic. And it's really nice that this inference right here, so it knows that we have that because it's defined in our .env file. In our environment variable file, we have, for the moment, 4 things. One that I added previously, or actually before the stream started, quickly, which is an API key for Resend in order to be able to use that. The Turnstile secret key, the API token in case. So for local development, you don't necessarily need that because you can just log in through the terminal and our database URL, or using Drizzle Studio. Okay, and with our response back, we can take this, and in case our response was not successful, we can return a fail. And we have our form and a message. In case something happens, probably a good thing, especially if, not sure if you saw, but because we have a setting in our Cloudflare Turnstile, which basically will automatically validate this request, so the user doesn't need to interact with the CAPTCHA challenge. In case everything or something goes bad. For example, if I try this request right now with something that is not okay, the request will fail. And then I try one more time. The second time, the CAPTCHA token will be invalid because it was already validated. And because of that, the user needs to refresh the page. So we can just put a message like so in order for the user to know what went wrong. And we can just console log the errors in case for some reason we will need that. Okay, now with that in place, we can continue. So if you're past this step, we know that the CAPTCHA token validation was successful, and the next thing that we need to do is to see if we have a user. And for that, we will need to add another method in our service. And this is where I like to split the logic apart a bit. So we will have a method for getting the user by email. And we will need to pass first the DB, which if you, whoops, which is a Drizzle D1 database instance, and our email as a string. And that's because, if you remember from the last time, because we use a serverless environment, the database will be instantiated with each request. So that's why we will need to do that. And we can make our call db.select from users, and this is our table that comes from our database schema definition, and I like to use our alias for imports. And Copilot tried its best to autocomplete this for us, but it messed up a bit. So actually we have an utility method from Drizzle ORM for equality comparison, which requires as the first argument the column that we try to match, and then the value doing the comparison against, in our case, is the email, and we put a limit of 1 because we know that we have our unique index constraint. So we have unique emails in our database, and this seems okay. And basically, if we have the thing is that this call, if you take a look, is an array, even though we have this limit of 1. But in our case, because we have that, we know that it will always return an array with 1 element. But still, we need to check that we have something, because if the length is 0, it means that it didn't find the user. Otherwise, we return the user at the position 0. Okay, and actually we need to go and make sure we export our user, or what we have in our user file in the services. And then we need to call the getUserByEmail method. And let's quickly grab the locals. Oops. From here. Seems to be the problem. Oh, because we passed the entire request, but we need to destructure it, because that is not actually the request. The request is a property of that. That right there is the entire event. And in here, from locals, we can just destructure and get our DB instance right here, and the email from the form data. And then, if we don't have a user, we can return a tail of 401. With the form and a message. In this case, if we don't find the user in our database, it means that the user using our app needs to go and create an account. So for that, we'll pass a message. Letting the user know that a sign up is required for this to work. Great. Now, since we have our user, the next logical step will be to generate the verification token. And for that, let me just quickly go and see an example in the Copenhagen book. So it's a matter of creating a random byte sequence. Okay, let's take a look at the Oslo. This is what we will need. So Oslo is another project created by the author of Lucia. And in here we have lot of utility methods for dealing with secure stuff, or let's say cryptographic operations like generating or validating cryptographic sequences. What we will need from here, I think that in the crypto package, yeah, we have this random right here, and we would want a random string for this. So let's go our auth service. And create a generate verification token method. And for this one, we will need a DB reference. We will need to interact with the DB. And also we will pass the user ID as a string. And first things first, we need to delete any verification codes that the user already might have created, because they are basically stale, because we will create a new one. So in that case, we'll call db.delete, and I think that we can just pass directly the table. And indeed, we will delete any verification code belonging to our user ID. Okay, after that, we will need to create a random reader. We will have our alphabet, but we will pass it here. So let's just copy paste this quickly. So bytes in our case will be an uint8 array. And do we miss? Okay. We miss a reference to the package. We need to install the Oslo.js crypto package. And just for a moment, we will not start the server in case we will need something else, because from what I remember, we will require other stuff from the Oslo package. And now we have it. Okay, so let me just quickly grab this because I have it in here. As an alphabet, or in this case, alphabet means what characters we want to use for our code, and usually I like to generate a code with lowercase letters and digits, and I feel like 8 digits is a good enough identification code. Next, we have our code. Great. The next thing that we need to do is actually add this to the database. Okay. And can just invert this, and I think, yeah, we'll need an expires at so let me think about this for a second. Let's take a quick look, because I forgot how this looks like. Let me quickly pull up the DB Studio, because I want to take a look at something. So Drizzle Studio. Okay, so here's how a timestamp would look like. So in our case, what I want to do is create a date that is basically the current date with plus, let's say, 20 minutes. 20 minutes looks like a good window for the verification code to be active. Okay, so because we will be working with dates in this case, I would like to use the date FNS package. So good thing that we didn't start the development server yet. Okay, and you can see how a date representation looks like for our use case. So what we will do is go in here, and first things first, we will use the add minutes method. Come on, from date FNS. We'll have a new date and we will have 20 minutes. But this needs to be an ISO string. Because we want this to be an ISO date or a UTC date. I forget, from what I remember, there is an issue with how we store this, or there are some quirks when working with UTC versus dates on the server. I'll need to do a quick test for this. So let's just create a new date. Okay. For the most part, I think that we can basically use the format method from date FNS. We will have our expires at, but instead of having it like so, it will be something like this. This is how our date will look like. But I want to make sure that everything will work as expected. So I want to make sure that I log all of these so that I can take a look at them. But basically, yeah, if what we have here is okay, we can just call we have a nice little method called returning in Drizzle ORM, and what this will do is it will give us the result of running our insert command right here, which is quite nifty because you don't need to do another get request to the database or select query after that. And again, what you will see is that this is an array, so you can, or actually we need to do our check again for the length. And we will return null if we don't have anything. Otherwise, we will return the first position in here. Okay. To call our generate verification code method, and this looks like what we want, and we will have a quick check here. But in our case we will not return a fail, we will just console.error first, and then we will just use the Sveltekit error method like so, and we have some other things that we want to do after that, but first of all let's quickly check what we have so far. And for this we will comment out a bit the token verification part, because we don't want to deal with that right now. I want to test first the if the date looks okay here. And also I want to comment out this part. Okay. Okay. And let's see. We have... Okay, so something with the server probably wasn't started properly the first time. Oh. So I'm guessing that the form validation is failing for some reason. Oh, because we have the CAPTCHA token as required. Okay, so let's just quickly do it like so. Okay, so it worked. And what do we have in here? Yeah, that's what I remember. So the weird thing is that when you format this date right here, you use the, where do we have that? Here. If you use the format date, the format method of the date FNS, even though expires at is an ISO date, because you can see I'm on a time zone that is 3 hours ahead of the UTC time zone. So this would be our UTC date right here, and if I format it, it formats to my current time zone, and that's what I feared. And I'm not sure you can just use the format ISO, because if I remember correctly, the format ISO is just it doesn't take into consideration the fact that our date is an ISO date. Is just it formats it, or actually a UTC 0 time zone. It just formats it to this part right here. We don't need that. So in that case, I think we'll just have to go with the stupidest method and take only a, so creating basically a substring, slicing this substring right here. Let's see. So we will have expires at from 0, and I think this one is not inclusive. Okay, I think this should be it. Let's double check that. And yeah, oh, okay. So apparently it is inclusive. Am I missing something? It looks like this will be the correct one. we can just take this right here and replace this. And just delete those. And we can take a look in here. Yeah, as far as that seems to be set up correctly. Nice. With that, the next step for us would be to, what I like is having an intermediary step. So it's something that is not necessarily needed, but it's for me a nice to have feature. On the verification code page, I want to display a timer for the user to know how long the code is valid. And in order to do that, in order to make sure that even if the user tries to go from another session into that, I like to set up a cookie for that part. And for that, I think we can just revert our changes. Because the next time we will be using this, it will be an end-to-end test. Let's make sure to re-import everything, or let's just undo our changes. Okay, great. Sorry about that. So the next thing would be a method for creating a verification code cookie. And here we will just take the cookies object from our event, our verification code, and we will need to set a few parameters here. An HTTP only cookie. Okay, and I'm thinking, oh, and let's just quickly go to our constants and take this from here. Have a constant for this. Whoops. Apparently we copied the entire line. Okay, and we will need this a bit later, but while we're at it, let's also create the delete verification code cookie method. We'll need this when we do the verify, but since we're at it, let's do it like so. And now with our verification code in place, let's call our okay, let's rename this to set to be a little bit more closer to what we have in the cookies API. Let's grab this from the event, and we have cookies and verification code. I think this needs to be stringified. Okay, great. And the last thing that we need to do is to actually send our email. So for that one, we will need to make use of Resend. And and I made a small mistake here. This needs to be services. I'd like to know that this is plural since we have multiple services in here. And let's quickly create an email.ts service. We will have our send verification email method. And for that, we will need the email and the code that we want to send through the email. So let's take a quick look in here to resend. So what we'll need to do is create our Resend instance. Here we need to pass our API key, and then we can just call resend.emails.send. In our case, in this recipient array, we will put our email. Our subject will be signing to, we have a constant. What's the name of that? App name. The from. Okay, so for the moment, let's just pass this like so. And let's also create a constant. I have the values somewhere. Right. From email will be a bit that we can reuse this. And we could try and test this. First, I think we actually need to send the email. And yeah, data, whoops, no, it's form data email, and the actual code from the verification codes. And if you take a look at our response, we have an error right here. That we will need to rename so that it doesn't conflict with the method from Sveltekit. And if we have an email response error, we will take the console error, but instead of returning a fail, we will just error out. And that should be it. Basically, this is all the logic that we need for our sign-in method. It's just that instead of using, so I could test with this, but I think I actually would like, if I do a test, to actually have my HTML template in place. And for that, I will like to actually have something in place. So what I would like to do is in our utils have an email templates file. And I think that besides our code, because let's take a quick look at Resend. From what I remember, they have some examples right here. And actually we have these React email examples. Was it in here? Or do I need to go to the dashboard? Okay, email templates, nice. Okay, this one. Some examples from React email. Was a magic link example. Yeah, this one right here from linear. Basically, I would like our email to look something like this. And because of that, we will actually need one more parameter, which will be the URL where so you can see in here that you have this login button, which is an href. And for that, I'd like to use or we will need to pass the href where the user can do that. So basically, when we will set up the verify action, we will have a page where the user can navigate to, or where the user will automatically be redirected after the sign-in. But also we will have a another action with a parameter where the user can access via a link. So this will be what we will be using in here, which will be this URL right here. And yeah, I forgot to export this in here. And in here, first, let's make sure we export from our email templates. Then in here, we will call get verification email template. And we will need to construct our URL. And for that, we'll need another thing. So I will create utils a server-side utility method. And let's see. We're getting the base URL. Because this is something deterministic, so we will need a switch statement. For the default case, where we will not match, so we will be doing this based on the node env variable. This will be our environment, and if we have a development environment, we will return our link right here. In case it's production, I will quickly take a look, see what is that. But then in case we don't have a match, we have an unknown environment. And in our case, let me just go to the Cloudflare dashboard. It will be faster that way. Okay, so this one. Okay, so this will be our URL right here. And we can call this get app URL method. And then we know that we want to go to verify. Whoops. We want to go to verify. And we will pass the code as a parameter right here. And like so, we have everything that we need to create our email template. And let me just quickly because I have it somewhere here. So this is how our template or email would look like. Copy and paste the code below, which is valid 20 minutes. We will have our code right here in a paragraph, or sign in via this link. And I need to define these values right here. And for that, I need to take a look in here. What I want to do is to get the X values for this one. For our primary color, and then for our foreground. I feel that this is much safer than actually using our OK CLH value. And with that, we basically have everything in place for doing an end-to-end test. Let me make sure that I open up my mail account. I need to sign in first. Sorry about this. Okay, and with that in place, nice. So even though we have this error, it's weird that we didn't have the pop-up for a second right there. But with that, we have it right here. So this is our login email, which works, and we have our verification code, which is valid for only 20 minutes. So yeah, probably by the point we will actually finish the verification page logic, that will be will not be valid anymore, and we'll need to generate another one. But it's okay. I want to do one last thing in here in our send verification code email, and that is instead, so now we just tested and made sure that it's working properly, but for times when we actually use this in development environment, I would like to, instead of sending an actual email, console log the code. And that's because, you know, you have limits on the number of emails you can send with Resend, and a quick test, it's okay, but I would like to abuse that and keep everything okay there. So with that, we actually finished the sign-in logic, which works properly. The next thing to do is do we verify first or validate the session token? I think we would do the verify first. So let's quickly create our auth verification page. Here, okay. So yeah, I think it's a good time to take 10-15 minutes break, and after that we will come back and dive into the verify. Again, probably we will not finish this today, but we will at least have something to show up for. So yeah, see you in a bit.
Yeah, it's the only thing revealing, trying to get me closer to the Lord, cause maybe he can open up some doors while these words get to show you all my flaws. It's poetry and pain, blessing in the change, pictures I could paint. Yeah, it's poetry and pain, blessings in the chain, pictures I could paint. Yeah, it's poetry and pain, blessing in the chain, pictures I could paint. Yeah, it's poetry and pain, blessings in the chain, pictures I could paint. No, I've been calling, been stalling, been falling, we go again. Timing so precious, a blessing, don't mess it up all again. Money, it come and it go and it come and it go again. Loving is true, it don't go here to stay, it go again.
And we're back. Okay. So let's quickly create the UI, the form for our verification code page. And for that, let me just quickly bring up the browser. I had a small issue because my browser froze for some reason. I had to restart it. It opened up again. So what we will need to do is let's create our Zod schema definition for the verification code. And for that, we will just have an object with a verification code string. A required error. And also a minimum length of 6. Because we know that our verification code, actually 8. Because we made our verification code to be 8 characters. We'll not do a max value, but just a minimum of 8 characters. And then we'll extend our schema with the captcha schema. Do I need to merge it like so it works? But I thought I can extend it. Oh, so extend needs a raw shape, okay. Oh, basically if I need to extend, or if I want to extend, I will just get the captcha schema and extend this with this raw object, okay, like so. Okay, great. This seems to be fun. And now for our verify page. We'll export. Oh, I forgot the dot there. We'll create our load method. And in here, we will return a let's call this verification form. Because we will also have a Resend form a little bit later. In here, called validate. And with the Zod adapter, we will get our application code schema. And that's what we'll need for this one. So we will get our data. Construct our verification form. Wondering why we don't have type definitions in yet. Oh, there is a small issue in here. Nice. Working. And a couple of arguments that we need to pass. It's our validator. For our schema. And we can just copy paste the update and error handling from here. But instead of success message, we will just let the user know that authentication succeeded, and then we'll navigate to dashboard, because we know that when this is done, the user will be logged in, and we can just let the user go to the protected page. The reason I'm doing, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, the reason I'm doing this here on client side is because I didn't found a way to proper redirect on the action itself. So for example, here in the sign in method, if I remember correctly, there was an issue. Basically Superform needs to have the form return both from the load method and from the action itself. And I'm not sure that I found, probably I will need to dig a bit deeper into the documentation to see if I found a use case for this. But yeah, because of this, if I redirect early, so it's a bit tricky. I can, and I'm not sure if it errors out, but technically I can redirect in here. And it will either work or it will error out. Let's do a quick test to see. Okay, so basically it works. Yeah, we have our verification code, but still I kind of don't like the fact that I will have to return this. So if I were to comment this part out, and I will try now. Okay, seems like it's working, which is cool. I'll take it. In that case, we can just stop, and I'm not sure. Yeah, for some reason, I don't get my message right here. Let's quickly check this out. Oh, is the reason? Yeah. So you can see if I don't return the form there, and even if I return the form but I redirect, it won't go through with it and it won't go in here. So that's a bit iffy. I'll need to check and see if I have some way to work around that. But for the moment, we'll leave it like that. And now can go ahead and create our form. You know what? Let's just grab this form from the sign in, and we will just update this one. Come on. What seems to be your problem? Oh, so we actually need to pass it like so. And now here need to update these references, but here we will have verification code like so. And basically our verification form is hooked up. Now we will have, let me check and see. Oh, whoops. Don't need this. Okay, so in here, instead of using the default action, I want to have a named action called verify. And this part can just be copy pasted. Instead of that, we will have this. Like so. and I long lost my code, but you can just see that it's basically worked. Now for the actual logic of the verify method, we will, again, we can copy paste this part because we will validate the captcha token first, the same way we did with our with the sign in method. After that, we need to grab the code from the database. And let's create an auth service method. Instead of user ID, we will pass the code. And we will take the code where verification codes.code is equal to our code. And I think you can just a limit of 1 because technically that should be fairly unique. I'm not sure. Let me just quickly check the database schema in here. Because technically we didn't put a unique constraint for the code. But because we are grabbing this, so we would expect this to be unique, but technically it's not guaranteed. Yeah, that's something that I didn't consider initially, but for the moment I think we can just leave it like so. And now we can grab our verification code. If we don't have one, we will error out. Otherwise, we know that we have our verification code back from the database, and what we will need to do is make sure that we actually have a valid verification code, which means that, let's think about it. So now that we set our verification code to be valid for 20 minutes. So if I So let's think about it. Oh, okay, so we can just compare the current date, or let's say the current timestamp, to the verification code. And that will tell us that if the verification code is after the current date, in the case that is expired, then we should error out. Because if we do this check in the 20 minutes interval, the date of the verification code, the expire at date of the verification code, should never be after the current date. So for this, we can use this nice little method from date FNS. But there is just a small issue that if we check just like that, and if we create a new date from the verification code that to actually await this call right here, and now we have the no, we don't have, because here I forgot to get the first index. Now we have an expires at. If this call is hit, we will return a fail. And the message that the verification code is expired. Please sign in again. Okay. Now there's just a small issue. Let me check. See. Should probably have. Yeah, we have at least one verification code, which should expire in 3 minutes actually. So the only thing that I'm wondering is again the issue with the dates. So let's console log this part right here. So yeah, you can see that the date is messed up. For some reason, when we pass this, which is an UTC date, it thinks that it's not actually a UTC date. So because of that, we will need to do a little trick. In order to make sure that we cast this to a valid UTC date. Too many or too little parentheses. So I messed it up a bit, no problem. So I found this little trick right here where you can just get the time zone offset from the current date and adding the negative value as in minutes in here will give you the proper date. Let's just console log this out for good measure and take a look. And yeah, you can see it right here that it's okay. And now the code is actually expired because it's passed. the date. So cool. Yeah, I think that maybe you can find a more elegant solution to this, but it's good enough for me, at least for the moment. The next thing that we need to do is to go, and after this check, we know that the verification code is not expired, which means we can delete all the verification codes for our user. And after that, we need to make sure that our user actually exists. I mean, this is a bit of a thing on the safe side. For the most part, you should not be in this you should not end up in this scenario at all, but just for the sake of it, we will go and create a get user method, which will basically get the user by ID. And now we are absolutely on the safe side for this part. So we can proceed with generating our session. Let me quickly open up the Lucia Auth reference. Okay. I had a vaguely idea there was a point where you could I thought that there is a page where they get you an overview of all the methods needed. Can't exactly remember where that is. Let's just take a look at the example login. Yeah. Basically, we now need these 3 steps. Generating a session token, creating a session, setting up the session token cookie. I thought that they specified somewhere in here. That's weird. I'm guessing that the session token is just using a random set of bytes, like so. Okay, let me quickly open up the Oslo documentation again. Here. So I will just go with this one. Add the coding package. And actually this is a generate session token. I mean, we could reuse this one. Sure. Okay, and after we have our session token, we actually need to create our session. And in here, we will have a reference to our database, token, and the user ID. Basically, this is something that is provided by default in the Sveltekit starter project. When you scaffold a new Sveltekit project with SV create, you have an option there for authentication, and it will give you all these nice methods for managing the session, but in our case we will just do it by hand. There's no problem. We will add a 30 days validity period for our session. Oh, and we also need to specify returning in here. Great. Great. And now we can just go in here and create our session. Let it be session token, and we can take our existing user ID. And then we will need to actually let's just grab this. We'll need to set our session cooking. Okay, and just to make sure that we don't forget, we need our session cookie name. Oh. Like so. And then the last thing, we can delete our verification code cookies. And just like that, we have our logic for verifying the code and creating our session. And the last thing I want to do here is just that make sure we also add the session validation in our hooks right here. So we will need to go in here and create our validate method, in which we will have our DB and a token. Great. You can just copy and paste this like in here. We can get this, but we will extend this a bit, because instead of only getting the session, we will actually do an inner join with users. That way we can grab both of them in just one call, and in here, if we don't have a result, we will return null for both these values. Oh, we need to grab the first entry. User session. And now we can validate our session first by making sure that our current date we have these now to get the timestamps, making sure that the current date is not actually past the expires at. And you know what, we can just use can't remember where we I think it's okay like that, because we set this the timestamp, if I remember correctly, not as a date. We will again return nulls for this, but also make sure to delete any sessions not all the sessions of the users of that particular user. That wouldn't be okay, just this one, current one. Okay. Now we can basically turn user and session, but we could also do something like, instead of the user needing to log in again, we can just the half of the interval, so we have a validity of 30 days, and at 50 days we can just check and make sure that we create a fresh session for the user. We can use difference in days from datefns for this. And this is smaller than 15. Okay, and with that, we have, or we know that we have a valid session. And we can go ahead and call validate on our session token. And if we have a session, we can just set the session token cookies. Otherwise, we make sure that we delete our session. And with that, we know that we can just set our locals in here. Maybe we'll do it later when we actually need the profile and the roles, because we have 2 more locals in here. So yeah, that's basically it. So now the storage. So you can see that we have a verification code active. A small issue there. And with that, you can see that we actually have a session cooking, which is nice. And you can see that I've basically navigated back, sign in, and because I have my which one is that? Okay, so in the sign in, you can see that I have this redirect. So if I have a session and a user, I just go straight to the dashboard, which is nice. I think we can actually do the same for the verify, because I don't think that we do at the moment. Yeah. So we can just go in here, go and grab our locals and session and user, and have the same if statement in here as well. If we have our session and user, we can just safely redirect to the dashboard. And voila, it works. Nice. So we did quite a few things today. We now have the basic authentication flow working. And I think we'll leave it at this for the moment. This is everything that we will cover for today. But we will pick it up tomorrow. And maybe I think that there is a pretty good chance for us to actually finish this basic authentication flow tomorrow, because basically the only thing that is left at this point is just the sign out, which is fairly trivial to do, and also the sign up, which is for the most part similar to what we have in the sign in. Is just that instead of getting the user, we create the user. Okay, so that's it for today. Again, as always, let me just quickly see where I have it. You'll find the link to the repo in chat in case you want to play with it. And thank you very much for watching. Have a great day and keep iterating.